Sienna God, hello, all. Good afternoon, and Wado. Thank you for watching. This is day 66 of Transformation of America, the True Life Story of a CIA Mind Control Slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips. And since we are in the, I believe it's called the victim timeline, I'm able to go a little bit longer. I have to keep it under 15 minutes. Victim of the system timeline. Okay. So, court proceedings to arrange for Dr. Mitchell's confidentiality and my visitation dragged on for 6 months, during which time I rarely saw Kelly. I learned that she had been placed in foster care with a former Cumberland House worker who openly practiced witchcraft. Okie dokie. February 5th, 1992, a restraining order by Omnivision, OMNIVISION, through the juvenile court further forbade Kelly from writing letters for help or contacting supporters or victims' organizations and restrained her from speaking of certain topics, including what little she recalled of her past. March 8, 1992. I wrote a pleading letter to DHS to take accountability for the abuses and violations of rights Kelly was enduring. I wrote numerous letters pleading for help and remained vigilant in my desperate efforts to obtain Kelly's much-needed and deserved rehabilitation. I received a response from a supportive U.S. Senator recommending that I broaden my approach to the Tennessee legislature. Arrangements were made for me to speak as an invited guest before the Texas legislature and then Commissioner of the Department of Human Services, Grunow, G-R-U-N-O-W. April 13, 1992, I spoke before the legislature pleading for resolution of Kelly's dilemma. One of my former abusers, Tennessee State Senator Ray Albright, A-L-B-R-I-G-H-T, left the meeting while Tennessee Representative McAfee, M-C-A-F-E-E, promised to help and ordered Commissioner Grunow to provide him a report on Kelly's case. After the meeting, Commissioner Grunow growled in my face, that under no circumstances would Kelly ever receive any therapy. Our DHS caseworker, Denise Alexander, who had been supportive of Kelly and me, who reportedly pressured by Commissioner Grunow to such an extent that she quit her job rather than comply with his cover-up. She tearfully wished Kelly and me luck. Whoa. July 1992, Kelly was finally in therapy with Dr. Mitchell, and subsequently she and I were permitted a weekly visit in our family therapy session with his MSW associate, Mr. Neiswender, Neiswender. Kelly and I were permitted to talk for the first time in 2 years. Kelly immediately expressed fear of Dr. Mitchell and explained to Neiswender, I don't know how you say that she had no problems with me, but had horrible problems with her assigned foster mother, occultist Melissa Thurmond, Thurmond. Kelly began expressing fear and anxiety, wore occult jewelry provided by Melissa, spoke of full moon campfire rituals / parties, and read occult literature. It was apparent to me that Kelly was again being subjected to occult trauma. August 1992, Kelly's occult involvement through Melissa Thurmond caused her to switch into an occult persona and become violent. Wow. Melissa then literally dumped Kelly and her few belongings on the street curb near the YWCA. And notified, I was thinking of YMCA, and notified DHS. Kelly was institutionalized again for homicidal / suicidal behavior, this time at Vanderbilt, where Dr. Barry Nurcum, N-U-R-C-U-M, and Dr. William Mitchell would be working on her. Omnivision determined Kelly was no longer fit for their program and withdrew from her case, leaving DHS in full control. Early September 1992, I had been forewarned by knowledgeable and cooperative members of the U.S. intelligence community that the psychiatric section of Vanderbilt University subcontracted to the same corrupt faction of the U.S. government that posed immense threat to Kelly. I was court-ordered to attend a family session at Vanderbilt and experience / witness that Kelly's mind and life were in grave danger there. I was further informed that an attempt was being made to silence Kelly through calcified MK-Ultra mind control means and to expect that she may be reprogrammed to request access to her abusers. Wow. October 1992, I had been sufficiently prepared to deal with the trauma of seeing Kelly negatively programmed. She asked me, why don't I have memory flashes anymore, and said that she wanted to see Cox. Mr. Neiswender, who was supervising the visit, asked Kelly if she could remember anything good or bad about Cox. She replied, no. So I reminded her how our brain compartmentalized memory of trauma too horrible to comprehend and asked if perhaps this was why she had no memory of Cox. The logic restored her control over her own mind without having triggered memory, which could have resulted in respiratory failure. Instead, Kelly decided that she would not see Cox after all. Then told me that all she could remember about her past was Mr. Winder literally fell off his chair with surprise and told Kelly to tell Dr. Mitchell about this that evening. Kelly had remembered specific CIA codes and operations in the Caribbean, as well as being in and out of the Pentagon and White House, and told explicit sexual details involving George Bush. Ugh. Last October 1992, court records show that Vanderbilt underwent a battle of allegiances between Kelly and government ties. I do not know who was on which side, but Kelly was reportedly subjected to harmonics in an effort to make her forget what she had just remembered. I was forbidden to see Kelly anymore at Vanderbilt, and Mr. Winder retired immediately. I went to see Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Nurkum, only to find locked doors and sealed lips. During this time period, during this same period of time, I was informed that information I had released pertaining to the North American Free Trade Agreement was greatly endangering our lives, particularly as this was an election year. That NAFTA information I had tied directly to George Bush and my own memories of his brutal sexual abuse of Kelly. I had obtained further proof/corroboration of his pedophile activities. Ugh. And arrangements were made for the vast dissemination of information, as well as a speaking circuit, whereby silencing either of us would only prove us credible. George Bush made 5 separate trips to Nashville in October during the most important time of his re-election campaign, most of which were not nationally publicized, but are well documented. I was told that the brainstem scarring damage done by the harmonics programming that Kelly reportedly endured during this time could be effectively treated and reversed if she was transferred to qualified rehabilitation immediately. November 5th, 1992, Mark Phillips and I spoke before a large group of state and federal law enforcement personnel outside Houston, Texas, to release my well-documented NAFTA information, a meeting which may well have saved our lives. January 5th, 1993, a new oversight organization, ACCT, took over management of Kelly's case. She was transferred to Charter Lakeside Psychiatric Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, without my being permitted any contact. It had been over 4 months since I last saw her at Vanderbilt. I was granted the right to attend an ACCT meeting and was allowed some input by one of their supervisors. The paperwork drawn up by ACC states that Kelly, always an A-B student, was far above average intelligence, now meets the criteria for certification as learning disabled since her brain was allegedly damaged at Vanderbilt Hospital. May 11th, 1993, I received a supervised cell phone call from Kelly under the direction of her new Charter Lakeside social worker, Abbott Jordan, ABBOT Jordan. This was my first time to speak with her since the incident at Vanderbilt. Kelly cried and told me that when she reported to Dr. Mitchell what she had recalled about, recalled about CIA operations in Bush, he forced her to sit in a chair for 48 hours with no food, water, or sleep prior to her forgetting everything she had told him. That's insane. Now Kelly is diagnosed oppositional. Who could blame her? She is not at all the same child that I knew, and I knew every personality fragment and facet of her. All she knows is that her conscious focus has been eroded and that she is in desperate need of specialized qualified rehabilitation. As always, I assure her it's not over till we win. March 17, 1993, I had been repeatedly denied my right to testify in court. A motion was pending, filed by Cox's attorney and charging that I should pay child support from the $3,000 in back child support that was awarded me through Sixth Circuit Court. The Assistant District Attorney, Scott Rosenberg, testified that it was not legal and that the $3,000 had already been spent obtaining further evidences for Kelly's case. The judge said, laws do not apply in this case for reasons of national security, and that I should pay child support unless there was a reason why I should not work. Oh my God. Cox's attorney, Bob Anderson, shouted that I should spend time in jail for having spent the money, and proceeds which, in fact, I never saw. I was not permitted to testify that due to threats to my life. I was not permitted to testify that due to threats to my life and establish a routine under our circumstances. On March 17, 1993, Judge Shukoff ruled that I should pay $25 a week for child support retroactive to January 1993. Good grief. I was advised that this ruling, in parentheses, because I had no way of paying, could quickly result in termination of all parental rights in parentheses, as if I have any, and jail time for contempt/failure to pay. April 1st, 1993, I spoke with Kelly, who still has no further memory of her past and has been seen by her court-appointed physician at Charter Lakeside only one time. We are waiting on this determination that Kelly requires qualified rehabilitation for classified abuses. September 1995, Mark and I had our well-documented book entitled Transformation of America, published, complete with irrefutable graphic details, which are in themselves evidence to present to Congress all factions of law enforcement, including the FBI, CIA, DIA, DEA, TBI, NSA, etc., all major news media groups, national and international human rights advocates, both American Psychological and Psychiatric Associations, the National Institute of Mental Health, and more, to no avail. Trans thoroughly exposes many of the perp and then dash traitors and their agenda, replete with names, which raises the question, why haven't we been sued? That's exactly what I've been asking in my mind. The obvious answer is that the same National Security Act that continues to block our access to all avenues of justice and public exposure also prevents these criminals from inevitably bringing mind control to light through court procedures and opportunity we would welcome. Meanwhile, as reported by both APAs, survivors of U.S. government-sponsored mind control began a service all across our nation. The first to encounter the vast number of survivors were law enforcement and mental health professionals, and these professionals began to ask questions in other countries. Answers were being provided through somewhat less controlled media, reflecting the CIA's involvement in Project MKUltra, human rights atrocities. A television documentary entitled The Sleep Room aired across Canada by the Canadian Broadcast Corps. In the spring of 1998, Dr. Martin Orne, an associate boasted by Dr. William Mitchell, MPD, PhD, who thrust Kelly into Vanderbilt's cover-up attempt, in parentheses RE, page 14, is named as an accomplice to Dr. Ewing Cameron's, EWING, and then Cameron's MKUltra experiments in Montreal, Quebec. Okay. Additionally, it should be known that Dr. Cameron went on to found the American Psychiatric Association, oh my God, which has helped to maintain America's mental health profession in the dark ages. Yeah, I'm sure. Of information control. Since the release of our Victim of the System timeline in 1991, a new organization was formed by concerned prominent psychiatrists and psychologists entitled the International Society for the Study of Dissociation. This organization is dedicated to informing mental health practitioners worldwide of dissociative identity disorder, DID, formerly inappropriately termed multiple personality disorder, MPD, which is the basis for mind control. DID is professionally defined as the mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend, due to the elaborate coping mechanism of the brain's compartmentalizing memory of abuse, so the rest of the mind function somewhat normally. What? The compartmentalization results in what is known as repressed memory or amnesia, enclosed within a traumatic event. The victim cannot think to bring to conscious mind the incomprehensible abuse, leaving the dissociative, emotionally shattered victim/survivor's personality highly suggestible with a subconscious, easily led. Hence the reason DID victims become prime candidates or chosen ones for mind controlled, as was the case with Kelly and me, which makes me wonder if they're absolutely doing everything they can to try and fracture people's minds so that they can then manipulate them through subliminal means, i.e. whether it's social media stuff that's embedded with stuff, or commercials, music, TV shows, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Anyway, movies, etc. So we'll stop it there. Don't go high, get you in a good shot. Till we meet again. Love you, mean it.